is like on the ground and whether today's incident could have been avoided. Prior to this incident, there had been reports that the governor's convoy itself had been attacked, and therefore one would imagine that therefore security measures would have been put into place just to protect the residents and to ensure that incidents such as this are not reported.
First, I want to express my, sincere condolences to the families and relatives of all those deceased and those who have been injured in the attack. And I want to condemn it. Really, this is something that is not acceptable under any circumstances by any faith. And so I think it stands condemned, and I think we did so today very strongly. In terms of what you're asking, the issue of the Al-Shabaab attack in Mandera is something that is several years old. And I think if there's one, according to the report by the police that is usually published, probably this is after Nairobi and maybe Mombasa, it's probably had the highest incidences of attacks in 2013, 2012, and in all those years. But this year was the worst, where literally every other month or every month there has been an attack. And last month was the height of it, when literally every other day there was an explosion of an IED, yeah? And we've been raising these issues. Now, in terms of the security, a few months ago, the government, after we explained that this Mandera is the gateway of all the terrorists. All the ones at Westgate, they said entered from Mandera. Those guys caught with some vehicle full of bombs in Mombasa, they said entered from Mandera. The explosion at Pangani Police, and so we impressed on the government, and I think they did take some action at the time a few months ago. They took some armored vehicles, I think several of them. They took GSU, they took some additional security forces. But the situation really has been precarious in Mandera, to say the least. And the reason is very clear. Mandera is right on the border. Literally, you share the streets with Somalia. Then the road which is now being used, where this attack occurred, is the favorite spot for these guys because the road runs right on the border.
Yeah, and so just because you've touched on the issue of porous borders, which has been a historical issue, there's been talk on this year after year. Who is managing these borders? You clearly mentioned that this is the gateway. A lot of these attackers, terrorists, gain access through Mandera County. Who is managing the borders?
Formally, officially, rather, the border is closed. But in reality, the border it's porous, and so you can go around and, you've got 700 kilometers on the border. Mandera alone has almost 200 kilometers long, and so the border where the security is just in Mandera town, right at the customs. So in any of these other areas, including where now this 45 kilometers away from Mandera town, where this thing happened, the road is right on the border. So they cross, hit the vehicles, and always go back. A few months ago, 3-4 months ago, you remember they burnt 4 vehicles. When the police went after them, they killed almost 10 people. So this is one of the challenges that we have. So security, yes, the government has tried, but I think there are significant weaknesses, particularly in terms of quick response on preemptive action on intelligence reports.
And Senator, the Mandera Governor, Ali Roba, had warned of impending attacks in Mandera, and we want to listen in on exactly what he said prior to this attack. Let's take a look at that. Talking security agencies that are now being seen to be more reactive as opposed to actually getting this situation under control. How many lives will be lost before the whip is cracked? What are your thoughts on what we just saw there?
First, I think there's no, we have to agree that generally the whole issue of dealing with terrorists who have little regard for lives is a very complex issue, and who are living in a country like Somalia where there's no effective government. It's very complex. But nonetheless, I think what has come out clearly is the same thing that came out in Westgate. You kind of get the sense that there is a disconnect within the security forces. In Westgate, we were told, the intelligence said we provided information. In Lamu, they said we provided information. And in each of the cases, the police said no, there was no intel provided. And you remember, it went all the way to Parliament. And so today it is not surprising if the police say there was no intel, and intelligence says there was, intel was provided. 3 nights prior to this incident, they raided parts of Mandera town, a few kilometers on the same road. There were about 30. The matter was known to the police. It was reported, and this is the intel that was known that these guys were along that road. The area is so bad that an army camp was actually put up a few months ago on that same road, just to. But I think, frankly speaking, there's a need for the president to deal with the working relationship between the different arms of government. Mm-hmm. That's the only way we can deal with this matter proactively. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I have no doubt in my mind that we have intelligence officers who are working and will probably have provided intel. But by and large, the argument is always that we provided, and the other party says we haven't seen it, and so it's nothing seems to have changed in that regard. The working relationship between the security. So I think if we continue this way, it's quite likely that we will be having more problems, because in an area like Mandera, Garissa, these places where those guys cross the border every day, we continue to suffer the brunt of these guys, and particularly what you said earlier, that given the persistent attacks, which were increasing in frequency in the last few months in Mandera, one would have thought then that more measures should have been taken to try and prevent and be ready. That readiness, that heightened awareness. So what the governor's concern is that when the last IED exploded last week, and we issued a statement actually in Parliament. What the police officer, commandant in Mandera, announced was that this was a rivalry between businessmen. Okay. And so those kind of things, I think that downplays. Yeah,
downplays the situation at hand. Interclan rivalry in Mandera County. Do you think this could have provided a fertile ground for infiltration of terror groups, and also just in light of that, within the community itself? Are you sure that there are no terror group sympathizers that are just residing within the community?
Two things. One, there is no likelihood, absolutely, of the interclan conflict being involved in this, because they, where the clans have a problem is quite removed from Mandera town. It's very far from Mandera town. Mm-hmm. The second thing is that the terrorist attacks on the border of Mandera town itself, where they have attacked the government installations, the county offices, the disease offices, and vehicles. It's been on for the last 3-4 years. And the government has responded, by the way, through the KDF several times. They have attacked some of the bases. They have destroyed them in the manner they did today. But these people keep on coming back after, all the time. Now, are there sympathizers? Yes, no doubt, in all over. That's why there's no way this gentleman would have known that a bus carrying, all those people coming up country would be taking that route. And, the schools are closed. A majority of the teachers are going home. It is December. It's coming Christmas. The others are all public health workers, other civil servants. So everyone is coming back home. So, I mean, it's, definitely there is a concern. That is why a few months ago, the government did arrest many people in Mandera. There are some who have been killed and shot, some clerics who were shot in town. So there is concern, and I think that concern has been expressed repeatedly, that because of the fact that the two towns share, there was an attempt by the government, I think at the national level, to try and see how we can address, because the no man's land has disappeared between Mandera and the town on the other side. Literally, the buildings touch each other. So we had requested for a way in which, that no man's land be created, so that town is from Somalia is 100, 200 meters. That's the way it used to be a few years ago. Literally, there was 100, 200 meters between the two towns, the no man's land that you normally see on the borders. Right. It's gone. Now the buildings are like this. So anybody walks in, does what he wants and walks out.
And just, talking about the national government and you as the county government, are you in dialogue and just looking at collaboration just to ensure that this security situation, and not just in Mandera County, but looking at northern Kenya as a whole, what is being done between the county government and the national government in terms of security and dialogue, just to ensure that the situation on the ground is under control?
What the national government did was when a few months ago when the president announced a revamped provincial administration. One of the things he said is that they have to work closely and in collaboration with the county governments, particularly on matters of security. And I think by and large, most of the activities that you've seen on the ground, that's why you find county governments investing heavily, particularly Mandera, on security. They bought vehicles, they put the KPRs on payroll. They have really gone into a lot of investment, and they work, they share intel and so forth. And I think to some extent that has worked pretty well. But again, that relationship is one that is not defined in law, that is not defined in policy, and is one that depends on the personalities really of the individuals who are there. So sometimes you find there are challenges, like you know, that some particular officers or security team who's there may not be willing to share information with the county governments, but otherwise the county policing system has been put in place. The county government, I know, has literally spent a lot of effort really to try and particularly, and I think the county security team in Mandera will confirm that they've really done their best to try and provide information, but still I think there is need to improve the relationship, the working relationship between the two levels of government.
And as we wind up, Senator, you've been engaged in peace talks over the years, but as leaders in the region going forward, what are you going to do, and what is your role in fostering peace in the community, particularly now following this situation, which is again being seen as a thorn in the flesh of Mandera, and just a lot of people just wondering, when will this state of affairs come to an end? Going forward, what are you, as the leaders of Mandera County?
Two things. The one on the conflict between the communities, that one I think is being addressed by the panel that was set up by the president, and I think that's why the last 2-3 months there hasn't been any incident between the community, and I think that one will disappear, and they're still working on it, the panel. But this one of the recommendations that I would make, and which we have made to the government, is that the AMISOM in Somalia left the Kerrow region. Kerrow region is the area that starts from Wajir going all the way to Mandera. That side of Somalia was left to Ethiopia to police. Kenya government was asked to police the southern part all the way to Kismayu, from Garissa towards Kismayu. And we have said that because Ethiopians are not really in that region of Kerrow, literally the entire border, all the way from Wajir to Mandera, on that side of the border is still controlled by Al-Shabaab. So we've been urging the government that it is in the interest of this government, our country, to actually take over that role of handling that quota of Somalia, so that we can look at our interest, because leaving it to Ethiopia, who do not have a presence in that part, will make it difficult. So as we speak now, the entire border, anything across 1 millimeter across, those guys are there. And so as long as they're there, then you know, that infiltration, that's why Wajir 2-3 nights ago they attacked the power station. Garissa is the same on the border, the DAP area, every time they have been you know, infiltrating. So there's need for the government really to handle that area. I think that's one of the things that we need to do urgently. I appreciate today they went in, but you know, aerial attacks do not provide adequate safeguards in this kind of a situation. You need people to really get in and push and create that buffer that we promised Kenyans would be made between the two countries.
Okay, thank you very much. Mandera Senator Billow Kerrow, of course, this following the killings of 28 persons by persons believed to be terrorists. And let's move on to the day's news now. And Budalangi, member of